Welcome back, everybody. We've got defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach Peter Sirmon here ahead of Cal's visit to SMU. We'll go ahead and get started with questions from Jeff Rado from Cal Bears on that side. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Peter. How you doing?
Good morning, Jeff.
Can you just talk about what you see when you look at the SMU offense? Their quarterback took over, I think, in the fourth game as the starter. He's been pretty efficient since then. They got a 1,000-yard running back. They seem like they spread the ball around to a lot of different receivers. How difficult are they going to be to deal with?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think they've done a fantastic job of utilizing the portal, assembling a team that matches the vision of what Rhett has for them to do. They got an extreme amount of speed, really at every level. They do a nice job of using tempo to an advantage, and the things that really jump out, the way they're coached, their tight ends and their wide receivers do as good a job as we've seen this season, covering people up on the perimeter, finishing plays on the perimeter, and playing with a lot of toughness. So a lot of those yards, when you do have that type of speed, if you can cover people up on the outside part of the field and get vertical, it can really run away from the rest of the defense. So those guys and the coaching staff does a really nice job of emphasizing that, and their kids have done a nice job of executing those types of plays.
Are they similar to anybody else you've played?
I think, skill wise, it's going to be the top probably two or three teams in the ACC in terms of what they're doing. Now, the tempo is going to be fast at times. They're going to utilize some of the FIB and some of the traditional things that you see, when teams do use that tempo. O-line, I think, is big, athletic. They stay in front of people. So I think collectively, this is probably the most talented assembly of talent that we've seen, throughout the season. Miami obviously was extremely talented, but this group is playing really, really well together right now.
Okay, thanks.
Steve Kroner, SL Chronicle.
Good morning, Peter. First of all, the follow-up about Jackson. Did you talk to him about BGH, and did he give his BGH blessings to, I would assume, Mr. Brady and Mr. Mendoza and anybody else?
Yeah, we actually did, because you did come up, Steve, so we did talk about it. And really the thing about what we had visited about was, Cal feels like home to him. And I think that means a great deal. He obviously did spend 4 years and graduated from University of Washington. But when he came back and saw his ex-teammates and the people that still remember him for that play, and to be around the guys on the current roster, Cal feels like home. And I think being a big game hero, and then be able to still, know these guys and he really did enjoy his time here. So I think the big game hero and the time that he had here, I think this is home for him.
Fair enough. One specific for your defense, I think it's fair to say probably the worst game your defense played was against Syracuse. And it was seeming like it bled into the first quarter against Stanford. And then the last three quarters, the defense played really damn well. What changed?
The Syracuse game got on us, really. They built some formations. We didn't do a great job of fitting to it. And then throughout the game, we had some shorter fields. And we didn't do a great job of winning one-on-ones against Syracuse. But the ironic thing, Steve, is both situations we gave up 3 touchdowns. The Syracuse game, we have 3 touchdowns, but 4 field goal attempts that were all made. In this situation, 3 touchdowns, and they were unsuccessful on the 2 field goals. So it's the same amount of touchdowns, but obviously it felt different, and I can, reflect this a few weeks ago here. We're talking about fourth quarter touchdowns allowed. And then the last 2 weeks, we haven't allowed a fourth quarter touchdown. So I think it just really kind of shows that the season has so many ups and downs, and narratives that seem consistent die, narratives that are dead come alive. And now it's the first 2 weeks of, the last 2 weeks is, how do we start faster? We had, I thought as the second play of the game, I thought we could have gotten to maybe a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. We had a missed tackle on their sidelines with the tight end, got to 3rd and 3.5. Quarterback moved the pocket. It went for probably the longest play of the day. And again, Stanford, I think we had our longest play of the day given up was 29 yards, which in a typical college football game, if you can minimize your plays that are over 20 yards, you'll have a shot of staying competitive in the game. So the way the games came off, we gave up the same amount of touchdowns, but obviously the feel of it is dramatically different.
So turn a positive. So what happened, if anything, from the first quarter when Stanford went up and down the field for 2 touchdowns and really did not do much the last 3 quarters?
Yeah, we did a better job with the quick intermediate passing game. Troy does a great job. Every time I've played Troy, the last year at SAC and then Stanford last year and this year, Troy's a tremendous play designer. There's really nothing that he can't visualize, that he can't get going on the game plan. So tremendous amount of respect for what he does and his staff does in play design. The 11 personnel, really the 4-back looks with the quarterback and gun. That was a new pitch out of that personnel grouping. Thankfully, we kind of settled down and I kind of figured out some calls that I thought had a little more adaptability to what he was doing with that. But ultimately, guys, they started winning some one-on-ones with the quarterback run game. We got to start getting a few blocks. We played a little bit tighter in coverage, so that short intermediate pass game we could contest it a little more, not just allow them to catch it and tackle it. And then they kind of found that rhythm. And then late in the game, we found them pinned in some obvious pass situations, which that was the plan to try to get them in obvious pass situations. Troy did not want to get into obvious pass situations with us. Even on some of the longer 3rd and downs, you saw the quarterback continue to run the ball. I think Ashton might have had up to 21 or 24 times that he carried the football. And I think we only had 67 or 68 plays. So that offense was going to go run through the quarterback, and we had to do an improved job from the first 2 series to handle the quarterback run.
Thank you, sir.
Matt Moreno, Rivals.
Morning, Coach. It felt like their missed field goal or misplayed field goal was kind of the momentum shift that kind of reset everything. How much of that kind of changed things for you guys and maybe reset things for you guys? And, what was the conversations like around that moment? Because it felt like that was, again, kind of the shift in the game.
I would agree with you 100%. That was a huge momentum shift. And I think we talked a little bit last week about momentum, but I believe at the time it's 21-7. Then they end up getting the ball, I think, on the 20 or the 21-yard line going in. The way the guys handled themselves, the way they went out there without any panic. They made a few plays. We tackled better. And then, it's college football. It's just the epitome of college football. It comes down to plays that you think are routine that are not routine. You think plays that are gimmies that are never gimmies in this environment, in this type of rivalry game. And I think that was a tremendous, because had that drive gone any differently, it would have been, we probably just run out of time with enough opportunities, enough series to get back in the game. So really happy that the kids, answered the bell in that situation. And then we were the recipient of their PA team not be able to execute.
And then Coach Wilcox was just talking about some of those smaller details and even smaller plays that you recognize, Fernando hitting Jonathan Brady a couple of times, but he mentioned a play with Stanley, and I mentioned Reese, had some big plays. How much did you see those come up, over the course of that kind of final stretch for you guys on defense?
It came up all over the place. We had a couple good rushes at the end. I thought we had a couple opportunities to get some one-on-ones, and the guys ended up winning a few of those. I thought Stanley did a nice job, and I think he's probably referring to one of the quarterback runs where Stanley had a single on the center. Did a good job of playing a man and a half on that, and all the quarterback runs. The math is extremely hard to get right, and what I mean is typically in the run game, if you're playing some single high stuff, that you have a free hitter if the quarterback's not running the football. Typically there's some combos and stuff, but typically you have a hat for a hat and you can get a free hitter to the ball. But when the quarterback starts running the football, especially with pullers, you can't get the numbers right. So you have to play a man and a half. You have to be able to knock something back, play primary, and then go to secondary. And those guys started doing a little bit better job of that. And some of the push cracks and some of those replace things, we could get the quarterback working horizontally, which made it for a little bit of an easier tackle and him not falling forward for a 7-yard game, but falling horizontally for a 4 or 5 yard game.
And, obviously people remember the 98-yard drive by the offense, but I feel like every side of the ball wants to have their moment. To have you guys have to come up with a stop, have Craig make that play, kind of have everything go right on that drive. How important, how rewarding was that for you guys as a group?
It's tremendous every time, and we win and lose together. Obviously, not a cliche, but it takes so much of a team effort to put these wins together, and I think you can never underscore. Every time you go out there and win, how many things went right for a team. Opportunities for the ball to bounce a certain way, opportunities for errors on another team, errors on your own team, being on the poor side of officiating, being on the fortunate side of officiating that you get in those games, the rivalry games, both a real competitive atmosphere. You have to be thankful that the kids had the resiliency and we had the good fortune of coming out on top.